spot, bringing stats like a kingpin. MMA knowledge needs his nephews all lean in. Breaking down fights, call him Stat Daddy Supreme. On Just a Tip show, he's cooking up a dream. Uncle Weezy, he the man. Dropping fight facts, got it all on hand. He the stat attack grand. MMA guru, more than just a fan. Wanna know the numbers? Weezy got them cataloged. From the fighters reach down to how many times they dog. Just a tip living, breaking it down slick. Hit you with the knowledge, won't miss a single trick. Uncle Weezy, he the man. Dropping fight facts, got it all on hand. He the stat attack grand. MMA guru, more than just a fan. Balls, deep predictions, he be making those calls. Getting in the details, opponents feeling small. From jazz to takedowns, got the whole fight ID. Uncle Weezy spitting truth, no lie, keep it G. Blow the horn, blow the horn. Stat Daddy Weezy not showing no scorn. Fight Night Kingdom, he wearing the crown. Break it down for the peeps, never looking like a clown.
Oh, yes. What's going on, everybody? It is late on Thursday night. It is midnight Eastern Standard Time right now, and I am here to do a quick full card breakdown for you guys that is going to concern the Noche UFC card, which is happening in San Antonio, Texas this Saturday, headlined by Diego Lopes versus Gene Silva. Going to be a hell of a main event between a couple of up-and-coming featherweights here who are on title tracks. Diego Lopes, one fight removed from a title fight against Alexander Volkanovski, and Gene Silva trying to climb his way into that top five and maybe even be next for the belt if he winds up getting a win here. So it's going to be an interesting card. We got 14 fights on this card to break down. I'm coming off of a losing week, down about 2.5 units. The ass shaving of the week did not come through. Reese McKee was unable to dispose of the UFC debutant Axel Sola, but the dog pick of the week did come through with Benoit Saint Denis at plus 170. So we had a pretty decent week in terms of hitting the underdog. The Greasy four-legger only hit 2 out of 4 legs. So looking to bounce back in a big way this week for this Noche UFC card before we take 1 week off. Then we're going to have, I believe, 9 straight weeks of UFC going between late September and the end of November, when we're going to have a break at Thanksgiving time. So going to have a bunch of events going forward here and a week off after this one here. So let's have a winning week this week. Enjoy the week off and then get ready for a long 9-week stretch. So let's just get right into it here. I'm going to give you a quick full card breakdown here of all 14 fights that are on this card here. And we're going to start off with the first one, which is the Ultimate Fighter finale for the last season. It was supposed to take place on the Chicago card. Ricardo Sezinando versus Daniil Donchenko. Sezinando is a pretty big underdog here at plus 190. We got Donchenko at minus 225. Fight doesn't go to decision. Juiced up here at minus 220 for this fight. So the markets are really saying that this thing's going to finish inside the distance more than 2/3 of the time. So I'm going with Sezinando by submission here. The way I'm seeing this one is primarily a striker here in Donchenko, who absolutely does have a grappling game as well, going up against, a grappler in Sezinando who hits fairly hard on the feet but isn't very technical. So what I like from Sezinando is the fact that when I watch his film, I don't see a lot of stand-up. I do see him forcing grappling exchanges. I see a very high percentage of his fights, and all of them for that matter, taking place in the clinch and on the mat. And I think that's where he's going to have the most success here. He's been working with his coach, Daniel Cormier, training with him. He's from Brazil. He then moved to Canada. Now he's in the United States training with Cormier. I think that this kid, with the right wrestling chops, is going to be able to win some fights at this level because he is a solid grappler, good top control, very opportunistic submission game. When he gets fights to the ground, he does very well. Now, if he's unable to do that, if Daniil Donchenko is able to keep this fight standing, I believe Daniil's going to be faster than Rodrigo. I think he's going to be more technical, more defensively sound, and I see him throwing more volume and landing more volume. But the reason I'm picking Sezinando to win this fight is because I see it taking place in control time positions for the majority of the fight, where I believe Rodrigo is going to have the advantage. So I'm thinking that he's going to get this fight down to the ground, and we're going to see Donchenko on the mat against one of the highest level grapplers he's ever been in the cage against, and I think it's going to end by submission. So I really like the Rodrigo Sezinando money line at plus 190 because I'm picking him to flat out win this fight. The next fight that we're going to talk about, Monsi Rendon at plus 115, going up against Alice Pereira at minus 135. The fight doesn't go to decision here, plus money at plus 180 for this fight. So the Golden Girl, Alice Pereira, 6-0 as a professional. She's fought in very low-level organizations on the Brazilian regional scene. All of her fights are filmed on phones. There's no announcers for any of her fights. And most of her fights that we have footage in were actually filmed in malls. So it's hard to know what Alice Pereira's got here because she's only 19 years old. She's very big for the division, the women's bantamweight division, standing at about 5'10", almost 5'11". So she's got decent striking. When she gets on top, she has a little bit of a position over submission top game. And I think that she's going to be one of the bigger girls in this weight class. And we're going to find out what her level is because she really hasn't fought any high-level competition. And with Rendon, you have somebody who's kind of like a generalist. She's got solid conditioning. She's a former triathlete. She got solid size for the division. She'll come forward. She'll throw a lot of volume. She can get some body lock takedowns. And I believe she's a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu purple belt and a Mexican Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu national champion at the purple belt level, I believe. So Rendon will be looking also to get the fight to the ground where she can win minutes and bank rounds. Alice's last fight came against a veteran, 12 wins, 10 losses, and 1 draw. I believe her record was the Samara Santos fight. And that fight went the full 5 rounds, actually. So I kind of feel like because that was the first girl with a pulse that Alice had fought on the regional scene, literally everybody else was like a 0-0 or just had multiple losses. So when she fought that lady, Samara Santos, that fight went the full 25. And I kind of feel like she's going to really have to prove that she's a finisher at this level. So I don't think that she's going to finish Montserrat Rendon, who's got excellent conditioning and is pretty durable. So I do think that she probably is better than Montserrat because I just don't know where Montserrat's going to consistently win minutes at this level. She's okay, but she's fighting on very thin margins. So I think that this is going to be Pereira's fight. But I don't see her finishing at this level yet. So I'm picking her to win this one by decision. The next fight, Alessandro Costa is a big favorite here over the UFC newcomer in Alden Coria. Costa was supposed to be fighting Edgar Chairez. Chairez had to pull out a pretty. I think it was maybe at least a month ago that Chairez pulled out of this fight. So I don't know exactly how long Alden Coria has known about this fight, but I believe it's at least 3 weeks. So Coria should be ready for this one in terms of conditioning wise and ready to make weight. And I'm picking Costa to win this one by decision, but I think that this line is entirely too wide. Alessandro Costa is on a 15-month layoff due to a serious knee injury. I don't think his professional wins are all that impressive. And we've seen him get knocked out by Amir Albazi. We've seen him lose a fight to Steve Erceg where he kind of got outboxed in the first round and he kind of got held against the cage in the 3rd round. So Corea's a good boxer. He's got some nice power in his hands. He's fought a pretty solid level of competition between LFA and Fury FC. Fury FC flyweight champion, Alden Coria. He beat Paris Moran, 1st round knockout. The belt was stripped from him because he pissed hot for marijuana, but that's like such a laughable reason to overturn a fight for. So obviously Coria was the champion. And you know, that wasn't a performance enhancing drug. So Corea's ready to be here. And with Costa being a little bit of a moment winner with not much of a minute winning skill set, I just don't want to lay minus 430 on a flyweight when I'm depending on that guy to win moments. I think Coria is going to be just fine at distance striking range against Costa. Costa swings for the fences, but because of that, he becomes a little bit predictable, and Coria is actually a pretty good slip and rip guy in the pocket. So I think he's going to keep it close, but Costa's the higher level grappler here. He has faced the better brand of competition as a professional, at least at the UFC level. He's got the UFC experience, 4 fights compared to 0 for Coria. And I also believe that if the fight goes to the ground, Costa is going to be very dangerous there, whether he's on top or on the bottom. He's got a very opportunistic submission game. So I'm going to go with Costa, but I don't think he's going to find the finish here. I don't think that this line is accurate at minus 430 of a favorite, because that puts him at over 80% implied to win this fight. And everything that I've seen on tape from Coria is telling me that he's got a solid UFC level boxing game. And when I wiki cap his fights, I'm seeing a guy who's fought a really solid level of competition and has a good pro record, indicating that not only has he, been fighting decent guys, but he's been doing it for a while, and he's got a lot of pro fights as well. So I think he's going to keep it close, but I think Costa edges this one out by a decision. The next fight, we got Zachary Reese at minus 240 going up against Cedriques SD Dumas at plus 205. Fight doesn't go to decision here. Juice to the tits at minus 550. And yeah, we're going to have Cedriques Dumas making his return to the octagon here after having some legal difficulties, which has kind of been a consistent theme in his life. I think when they write Cedriques Dumas's life story, it'll be called Court Dates and Dog Crates. And I think that also could be a great rap single for him. If the UFC thing doesn't work out, I think maybe Court Dates and Dog Crates could be his first rap album. Maybe that shit goes triple platinum, and Cedriques Dumas has success in a way that we didn't necessarily see coming. And another thing that I don't necessarily see coming is a win for him here. However, I'm just not really high on Zach Reese, so I don't want to be laying minus 240 on a fighter like Reese, who I'm still kind of trying to figure out what his best way to win fights is here, because I don't really see him having a minute winning skill set against anybody that's very low level. I mean, he beat Dusko Todorovic and Jose Medina both by decision, but I just don't. I mean, those guys really weren't able to wrestle him, which was kind of crazy. And I don't know, man. I don't know what to think of either of these guys right now, but I'm going to go with Reese because I just think that he's a little bit more dangerous on the feet. He's a little more dangerous on the mat. So I could see him finding a knockout. I could see him finding a submission. It's hard to know where Cedriques' head is at this point. The guy's wearing an ankle monitor. He had to pull out of the Jackson McVeigh fight because he couldn't get the ankle monitor off and leave the fucking state. There's problems here, obviously, on the Dumas side, but he does need to win this fight. This is a big fight for him, so you never know if he'll come out looking like an improved version of himself. I don't think it's very likely, and I'll be staying away from betting this fight as a whole, but I'm picking Zach Reese to win by first round knockout. Next fight, Jesus Aguilar plus 190 going up against Luis Gurule at minus 225. Fight doesn't go at plus money here at plus 115. So Gurule is somebody that I think has a much better skill set for winning minutes than Aguilar does. Aguilar's fairly low volume at distance striking range. He throws a heavy overhand right. He throws a lot of calf kicks. He will wrestle a little bit offensively. And whenever he starts to grapple, he's looking to wrap up your neck. He wants to put you in that guillotine of his and look to finish the fight with it. Gurule's got a wrestling background. He's got the faster hands. He's the better boxer. But, I still think that he's a little bit, the jury's still out on this guy a little bit in terms of, is he a UFC level fighter? I mean, he was looking really good against Ode Osborne before he got clipped and finished in the second round of that fight. I don't know what's going to happen here, but Jesus Aguilar is not somebody that I see having a minute winning skill set at this level. He really is just somebody that's looking to wrap up your neck or maybe land a big shot on the feet. With that kind of a single-minded game plan, more well-rounded fighters like Gurule who can wrestle, who can box, who've got good conditioning, and who can flow between the martial arts much better than somebody like Jesus can. I think that Gurule is going to get the job done here. Aguilar has been submitted a couple of times as a pro, but he's never been knocked out. And Luis Gurule is not really much of a submission merchant. Only one fight has finished by submission in his career, with a win for Gurule. So I think that this is going to go the decision. And I like Luis Gurule to win by decision. Is sitting around plus 132. That's potentially going to be a tracked bet. I'm going to wait to see what the weigh-ins are like for this fight first. But I like Gurule, and I like him to win this one by decision. Next fight, Tatiana Suarez versus Amanda Lemos. Suarez minus 470, Lemos plus 370. Fight doesn't go to decision, sitting at minus 170 for this fight. So I like Suarez here, and I like her to win this one by decision. Amanda Lemos has been in there recently against a bunch of really good grapplers. Mackenzie Dern, Virna Jandiroba, Weili Zhang. So, and she got submitted by Virna Jandiroba by a really cheeky armbar with like 10 seconds left in the second round of their fight. But she's done a pretty good job of staying safe on the ground with her opponents on top of her. In addition, Amanda was already training to fight Tatiana Suarez a little while back as well. They were scheduled to fight each other. Tatiana, of course, had to pull out because she's just had so many physical problems, whether it be battling cancer, neck injuries, knee injuries. There's just been a bunch of roadblocks in her career that's never really allowed her to be active, to fight consistently. And because of that, she spends a lot more time rehabbing and battling injuries than she does training for fights and piling up wins. So with Tatiana Suarez pushing 35 years of age right now, and with all the miles, she doesn't have a lot of miles on the engine, but she does have a lot of engine block repairs that, in this sport, you're an athlete. You're requiring on your body to respond the way that you need it to in situations where you need to be an elite athlete, in the scrambles, in the pocket, trying to make quick decisions while you're boxing, finishing takedowns, once you get in on the hips, you need to run your feet. You need to take the right angles. You need to have the necessary conditioning to be able to finish those takedowns at crucial points in fights as it gets harder and harder to do that. And I'm really worried that Tatiana is not going to be able to do that as well as we're used to seeing her do that. The neck injuries, the chemotherapy, the knee injuries. There's just been so many things that have happened to her. But this is a good opponent for Tatiana, because even though Amanda has crazy power in her hands, she spends entirely too much of her UFC octagon time in control time positions, where she's very likely to get dominated by Suarez. So the way I see this playing out is that Tatiana is going to get takedowns in every round. She's going to get top control in every round. But I don't see Lemos giving her the kind of making the mistakes on the ground that are going to allow Tatiana to find ways to finish this fight. So I see Tatiana winning this fight by getting takedowns, banking rounds with top control and ground and pound, but not finding the finish. So Tatiana Suarez by decision, sitting in around plus 200 on Bet Rivers Sportsbook. That's something that's probably going to be a one-unit play for me. Once again, just want to see the weigh-ins tomorrow before I pull a trigger on that one. The next fight, we got the return of the Prince of Peru, Claudio Puelles. He's a minus 121 favorite over Joaquim Silva, the plus 101 underdog. Fight doesn't go to decision here. Pretty close to a pick'em at minus 105. So this is a fight I don't want anything to do with this one from a gambling perspective. Puelles has been away from the UFC octagon for over a year and a half now. I believe it's about an 18-month layoff for Claudio. And he's a fairly one-dimensional fighter. He can wrestle and win minutes with top control, and then he can also win moments with his leg lock series where he's looking to get finishes with knee bars and heel hooks. So Puelles is a potential minute winner on the ground. He's a potential moment winner on the ground, but his striking stinks. And if he's not getting those takedowns, he's going to gas out quickly because of how much offensive energy it takes to try to get those takedowns. And Neto BJJ is somebody that should be able to be okay on the ground with somebody like Puelles. This is a guy whose base was Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu before he made the switch to MMA. and he was a high-level competitor on the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu scene. So I don't think Joaquim Silva is going to be put in bad spots where he might be made to tap on the mat, but also he's 37 years old, and like Puelles here, this guy's had over a year away from the cage. So you got two guys on super long layoffs here. You got a guy in Puelles who's only 29, but Silva's 36 or 37. So he's really nearing the end of his career. And the last time he took a lot of time off, he took a 2-year break between one of the fights, and then he returned to fight Ricky Glenn and got knocked out in the first round by Ricky Glenn. So, Silva, while he did have a good performance, kept the Sarukian fight close for a while, I do think that Puelles should be able to get some takedowns here, should be able to stay safe from the fists of Silva here, and I think he's not going to find a submission, though. So I'm picking him to win this one by decision. And then this one here, oh boy. Jose Medina at plus 300 going up against Dusko Todorovic at minus 400, and the fight doesn't go to decision here, sitting at minus 145. This is low level. This is extremely low level. I watched that Todorovic Reese fight. I mean, I'll never get those 15 minutes of my life back. Dusko is done for. It just looks like he's had too many injuries. He blew out his knee in the Christian Leroy Duncan fight. He's gotten knocked out so many times now at the UFC level. He's taken so much damage up here. The wrestling was never good. He was always like an 18% takedown accuracy guy. He keeps his hands low on defense and relies on head movement, and he gets hit a lot on the feet. And he's not showing the greatest power anymore. Like, he kind of needs to get in the top position where he can land the ground and pound, but he doesn't really have the wrestling to get it to that position where he can finally open up his offense and find ways to finish fights. So this is something that when I broke this fight down for my Odd Shopper members last night, I just said that there's two sentences here that accurately sum up betting on this fight, that when you say these two sentences out loud, it makes you believe that you really shouldn't be betting on this fight. Number one, imagine betting on Jose Medina to win a UFC fight. I mean, just from what we've seen in the cage from this guy at this level so far, there's no reason to bet on him to win a fight at this level. He's terrible. This is the Bolivian Homer Simpson. If you don't get tired whooping his ass but being unable to finish him, he has no chance to stage a comeback and win the fight, because he doesn't have any UFC level MMA skills at all. And then your other choice is, and the other sentence is, imagine laying minus 400 on the Dusko Todorovic money line to beat any UFC fighter in the year of our Lord 2025, September 11th. 2025, and I'm going to lay minus 400 on a guy in Dusko Todorovic who couldn't even get takedowns against Zach Reese, who came into that fight with 0% takedown defense. Really? This is like the Special Olympics version of the UFC right here, and this fight would be headlining any Special Olympics version of the UFC. Todorovic versus Medina. I mean, I guess I'm going with Todorovic by decision, but I think Medina might even be able to win this fight. There's a possibility Jose Medina might have a UFC win when this is all said and done on Saturday. And to me, that is fucking mind-blowing. But let's just move on. We got Santiago Border Boy Luna at minus 135 going up against Quang Bang Lee plus 115. Underdog. Fight doesn't go to decision here, sitting at minus 125 for this fight. I'm picking Santiago Luna to win this one by decision. National wrestling champion, high-level Brazilian jiu-jitsu player, very solid enough conditioning, and he's got some speed in his hands, and he's got a little bit of pop in his hands. Now, Lee is going to be the better striker here for sure. Luna's got a lot of work to do. This kid is still only 21 years old, and he still only has 6 professional fights. And 5 of those 6 professional fights were against extremely low-level guys. So Luna still has a lot to prove, but from what I'm seeing on tape from the guy, he's got UFC level weapons already. He's, like I said, he's got a little bit of power in his hands, which can really help him out. And he's got the threat of the wrestling and the grappling to worry about when you're standing up against this guy. And Santiago is not the kind of guy who's going to shoot one takedown, and if that takedown isn't successful, he's going to back off. He's going to chain them together. He's going to make you work. He's going to look to get to your back if he can't get you on the mat. And he can push a pace for a pretty good amount of time here. Now, I've seen him get tired late in fights, but he's only 6 fights into his professional career here. And Quang Bang Lee isn't somebody that I think has elite conditioning at this level either. I think that if Santiago pushes a pace against Lee, he's going to make Lee tired too. I rate Lee as the better striker. I rate Luna as the better Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu player, and I worry about Quang Lee's chin after the last fight against Zhao Long, where he was knocked out in the 3rd round of that fight. Also, keep in mind, though, that fight was in China, so he had to go on a long trip, Minnesota to Shanghai. I don't think that's an easy flight, ladies and gentlemen, and, fighting in front of an unfriendly crowd. Tough loss there against Zhao Long, but Quang Lee, like I said, he's got nice hands. He's got good striking. He can get to your back. He's a very competent grappler in his own right, training at a good camp there at the academy in Minnesota under the tutelage of Greg Nelson, I believe, alongside of John Castaneda, who we've seen corner Quang Lee before. So, yeah, I think that this is going to be a good fight. I think this line is about where it should be. I think Luna's got a lot of upside. I think he's a very exciting prospect. And because of that, I think it's okay to make him just a small favorite here against a guy in Lee who does have more experience than him, but it's not like he's got these crazy good wins under his belt where you're like, wow, this is a huge step up. So I think Luna's going to win this one, but I really think that even though he has a 100% finish rate and that he's never won a decision as a professional, I believe that chain wrestling, grappling style that he brings is going to allow him to be able to win minutes at this level. So I'm predicting that Luna gets his first win by decision here against Quang Lee. Want to see him on the scales once again because it's a shorter notice fight for Santiago Luna. And we have to remember also that Quang Lee was training to fight David Martinez, who now is fighting Rob Font. So because Lee was training for a striker, now he's getting a wrestler grappler. Tough pivot of opponents here for Quang Lee. I think it's another reason to like the Santiago Luna side. Going with Luna by decision. His decision prop on Bet Rivers Sportsbook sitting at plus 265. If I like what I see on the scales tomorrow, I'll probably be firing on that for 1 unit. We got a great fight here between Alexander Hernandez. He's a minus 102 slight underdog against Carlos Diego Ferreira, the minus 118 favorite. Fight doesn't go to decision here, sitting around minus 125 on Bet Online Sportsbook. Hernandez making a quick turnaround here after getting the knockout in Chicago against Chase Hooper in his last fight. Diego Ferreira coming off a loss against Grant Dawson in his last fight. But before the Dawson loss, 2 back-to-back wins, impressive ones at that, against Mateus Rombeski and against Michael Johnson, both of which in those fights he lost the first round. So what I like about Ferreira is that he will turn up as the fight goes on. He will push a pace. He's not like this big offensive wrestler, but if he gets to the ground and gets into dominant positions against you, this guy's scrambles are really good, and his Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is elite. So Diego is a very dangerous opponent still here at the age of 40, and I think a lot of people are shorting him because he's 40, but there's 2 types of 40-year-old fighters. There's the 40-year-old fighter with 50 professional fights, a 27 and 30, like a crazy 30 and 20 professional record. They've been finished in 9 different fights. They fight 3 times a year, and there's just all the damage and all the miles on the engine. And then there's a guy in Diego Ferreira who's only really been fighting once a year. The guy's a very inactive fighter, and because of that, he's still actually being able to go in there and beat younger fighters like Mateus Rombeski, maybe 10 years younger than him. Michael Johnson, when they fought, probably 3 years younger than him. So one of the things that I look for in older fighters when I'm determining whether I want to back them, and we'll talk about this again when we talk about Rob Font, is are you still winning fights? And that's a yes or a no question. But the follow-up question is, who are you beating? Are you beating other fighters your age in the late 30s? Or are they matching you up against younger guys and you're beating younger guys? Diego Ferreira is one of these guys that's getting matched up with younger guys and he's beating younger guys. So that's a pretty good signal to me that he's still fighting at a high level at 40 years old. And you got to determine, sometimes actually all the time, you're going to get discounts on older fighters because age is one of those metrics that is very statistically significant, that the data bettors are going to be using age and reach and a lot of things that you don't really get points for in the octagon when the fucking octagon door closes. So when you're getting an older fighter, you're going to find discounts on those fighters if you're getting the right kind of older fighter, the one that's still got something left in the tank, the one that's still able to perform against younger fighters. So Hernandez's last 3 wins for me are a little bit in question. You know, the Austin Hubbard fight could have went either way. And I mean, like, Austin Hubbard's a solid UFC level fighter, but like, he's just not got the kind of record at the UFC where you're like, imagine making Hernandez the same price against Hubbard as he is against Ferreira. I mean, you would not think that would happen, but guess what, you guys? He's about the same price versus Hubbard as he was versus Ferreira. Keep in mind that Hubbard fight went to a split decision. And then the next fight after that for Hernandez, after the Hubbard fight, was the Hollabaugh fight. And if Hollabaugh had any kind of takedown defense, he's probably winning that fight. So, and then Chase Hooper didn't really try to offensively grapple against Hernandez and wound up getting knocked out at the end of the first round. So I think Ferreira will be able to survive that big first round like he did against Michael Johnson, like he did against Mateus Rombeski, and then turn up as Alexander Hernandez, who's only on a 28-day layoff coming into this fight, making a quick turnaround, 2 weight cuts in 28 days. And he's always a guy that's traditionally slowed down late in fights. So I think if Ferreira can get past the first round without taking major damage, that he's going to win the second and third rounds here, and that he could potentially find a late finish. So I like Diego Ferreira to win this fight, and I'm picking him to win it by third round knockout. Next fight, we got Kelvin Gastelum, minus 230, coming up against Dustin Stoltzfus, plus 195. Fight doesn't go to decision here at plus 140. Dude, Kelvin Gastelum is looking buxom, ladies and gentlemen. He is looking voluptuous. Let me show you my Discord where my guy Glenbot in my Discord is always posting those Getty images of the fighters. And let's see here. I know if we go to the Gastelum page here, they got Gastelum's missing weight podcast here. And okay, I guess we didn't post it there, so it might be in the general. Let me see here. Where is it? There it is. Look at that Gastelum picture. He's looking round, ladies and gentlemen. He's looking voluptuous. He's looking curvy. And I'm worried he's going to miss weight again. I mean, it's always a concern. It's a ever-present concern if he's at 170. But even if he's at 185, there's a chance he might show up 10 pounds fat. And he looks generous proportions, right now for an MMA fighter that's trying to make 185 pounds. So we will see. But if Kelvin makes weight tomorrow, I can always expect gritty performances out of Kelvin in the octagon. The guy's got solid boxing. He's got legendary durability. He's always had good offensive and defensive wrestling so that he could keep fights standing if he wants to box, and that he can get takedowns if he feels like a little bit overmatched on the feet. So I think Gastelum has a lot of ways to win this fight. Stoltzfus, I think, is going to need to grapple. I think he's going to need to get takedowns. It's going to be tough because Kelvin's going to be faster than him. He's going to be throwing more volume, and he's going to be a little bit more accurate than Dustin is. But Dustin's got heavy hands, and he's performing at a solid level. You know, Dustin's been fighting solid guys. Very close fight last time out against Ruzaboyev. He's been trading wins and losses for his last 6 fights. Come through as an underdog a couple of times. So Stoltzfus is no joke, man. He's got a little bit of power, and when he gets to the ground, he goes for like these champagne submissions, man. He'll try some weird shit. He'll try like leg locks and knee bars and twisters and a bunch of stuff that you don't ordinarily see people trying at this level. So I think Dustin Stoltzfus by submission is a cheeky look, because we've seen Kelvin Gastelum get submitted 3 different times at the UFC level. Also, I believe that Kelvin Gastelum by submission, just because Stoltzfus might look to grapple here to take advantage of his size advantage and potentially of his submission grappling advantage. But we've seen Stoltzfus get submitted a couple of times. And while Gastelum only has like 2 submission attempts well over 20 UFC fights, he's completed both of them. So I kind of like fight to end by submission. It's plus 800. You could put a small sprinkle on that. I think that there's a high likelihood, if the fight does go to the ground, that either one of these guys could get submitted. But the pick, if Gastelum does make weight, is that I think he's going to win the minutes of this fight with his hands and his superior striking skills to get a decision win over Dustin Stoltzfus. Next fight is going to be Rafa Garcia at plus 195, going up against Jared Gordon, sitting at around minus 230. Fight doesn't go to decision here, sitting at plus 215 for this fight. So Gordon's getting up there. You know, he's 38 years of age. Rafa Garcia is sitting around 31 years of age right now. So, you know, Gordon, the much older fighter here, but right now Jared Gordon is just fighting at a very high level. When we look at his last 4 fights, last 5 fights, I should say, pretty easy win over Paddy Pimblett, where he won all 3 rounds. He got knocked out by a headbutt in the Bobby Green fight, so that fight was made to a no contest. He knocks out Mark Madsen in the first round. He has a very close fight, back and forth striking war with a high-level boxer striker in Nasrat Haqparast. A lot of people thought Gordon got robbed there a little bit. I don't think it was a robbery. I just think that it was an extremely well-matched fight. Those guys really put on a show. And then Gordon goes out there after getting nipped in that split decision and just runs fucking through Thiago Moises and knocks him out in the first round. And when you look at some of those left hooks that were landing against Haqparast, who's crazy durable, the ones that were landing against Paddy Pimblett, who's crazy durable, it's starting to show that not only is Jared Gordon very capable of winning minutes. Look at this, you guys. His career record to the decision is 11 wins and 2 losses, where the Paddy Pimblett fight was a straight up robbery. There's a 0% chance that Paddy Pimblett won that fight. And if you think that Paddy Pimblett won that fight, you, sir, are fucking retarded. There is no way that he won that fight. So you look at a guy like Gordon, who's really good at winning minutes, should be 12-1 to the decision if they hadn't fixed the Pimblett fight, could be 13-0 to the decision if one more judge had seen things his way in the Haqparast fight. Combine that with the fact that this guy is showing legitimate power in his hands still at this point in his career. He wins 75% of the control time positions in his fights. He spends 51% of his time at distance striking range, where he's landing 1.4 more significant strikes per minute than he's absorbing. And he's winning minutes in the grappling exchanges with his offensive wrestling and his Brazilian jiu-jitsu and his top time. In addition, Jared Gordon is phenomenal in control time positions with his striking, outlanding his opponents 127-89 in significant clinch strikes and 186-47 in significant ground strikes. So Jared Gordon is just a very, very good fighter right now. 37 years of age, though. He just turned 37 on September 6th. So happy birthday to Jared Gordon, who probably didn't think that he was going to see 27 years of age when he was younger. So really great to see a guy like Jared turn his life around and really be an inspiration and a success story for so many people that are in the same situation that he used to be in right now. Can look at a guy like Jared Gordon, who turned his life around, and see some hope in the future. So big fan of Jared here. And Rafa Garcia is going to be a tough opponent because the guy is just very good at everything. He's got solid boxing, excellent conditioning, excellent durability, an 8-0 record to the submission, and the guy can wrestle. The guy can scramble. So he's going to be a tough opponent. It's really tough to kind of just run away with rounds against a fighter of Garcia's quality. But I do think that I would be pretty surprised if Jared Gordon lost this fight, because I think that Paddy Pimblett, Bobby Green, Mark Madsen, Nasrat Haqparast, and Thiago Moises, they're all tougher opponents than Rafa Garcia is, in my opinion. And Gordon is beating all those guys. So, I like Jared Gordon quite a bit here. Minus 230. I think it's a pretty safe parlay piece this week. And I would be very surprised to see Rafa get his hand raised against somebody that's fighting at the level that Jared Gordon is fighting right now. Next fight is going to be Rob Font. This fight is now a pick'em. When I did Balls Deep breakdowns, Rob Font was minus 130. I was looking at Rob Font at the beginning of the week at minus 160, and I was tempted at that price. Now, when I went and I watched the tape, David Martinez is a very tough opponent, and Rob Font is making the switch from he was supposed to fight Raul Rosas Jr., pure crotch sniffer, no striking accolades at all. So obviously Robbie, when he was training for Rosas, was training Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu 2-a-days and just looking to grapple because he knew that's what he was going to have to do in order to beat Rosas. Now he gets a guy in David Martinez, who I've seen get one takedown in his entire MMA career. A guy that really doesn't have any ground game to speak of at all. So it's a completely different opponent for Font. And unfortunately, he just hasn't had enough of a camp to deal with the stylistics of the way that David Martinez fights. If you're going to fight a guy like Martinez, you need more than 2 weeks' time in order to get ready for him. But the difference in strength of schedule here, I mean, it's one of the biggest differences I've ever seen in a UFC fight. Not just this year, maybe the year before. Like I'm trying to think of like a fight that wasn't like made on fight week, where like literally somebody drops out on Wednesday and they call some Las Vegas regular, because the guy maybe flew in from another country and we're like, hey man, we'll sign you to a 4-fight contract if you take this ass whooping. Outside of fights like that, I can't think of a guy like David Martinez, whose best win as a professional is either arguably Xavier Franklin or Simon Oliveira, who almost died about a year before he fought Martinez. So to go from that level of competition to a top 10 bantamweight, I mean, the bantamweight division is one of the most stacked divisions in the entire UFC. So you're not just getting a top 25 bantamweight, which would be like 8 rungs above the ladder than the guys that David Martinez has been fighting. But now you're getting Rob Font. You're getting a guy that Rob Font was minus 150 versus Jose Aldo. Rob Font was minus 130 versus Davison Figueiredo. Those guys are both champions, UFC champions. Rob Font was minus 130 against another really good fighter that I'm let me see. Yanez. I mean, he was a small favorite against Yanez. He was a small favorite against Figueiredo, minus 150 against Aldo. And now he's a pick'em against David Martinez, a guy with no grappling game, a guy who is a point fighter who every time he lands a strike, he needs to exit the pocket and reset, a guy who doesn't like pressure in David Martinez. So even if I thought that Martinez's striking skills were good enough to win this fight, I couldn't bet on him because just because you're good enough to beat Simon Oliveira, Xavier Franklin, Jose Zarauz, Axel Osuna, I mean, like if any of those guys took a last-minute fight against Font, they'd be fucking plus 1,000. So this is mental to me because it seems like there's no way that you could get to David Martinez minus 110 unless all you're doing is watching tape and not comparing the level of competition of his previous opponents to the level of competition that he's going to see on Saturday. So, I mean, I have to pick Font here. I'm picking him to win it by decision, but I also think that a finish for either guy is actually fairly likely here. We've seen Font get dropped numerous times in recent fights. His chin isn't exactly where it used to be, and he's a 38-year-old bantamweight. So I think that there are some things that in the Martinez side here, him being 11 years younger, him looking really good with his striking on tape. But once again, they don't give you points in the cage for being younger. They don't give you points in the cage for being Mexican. You know, that he's going to have to win minutes here with his striking. He's going to have to avoid getting taken down because Rob Font is the much better offensive wrestler. He's the much better grappler. It's not even a contest. So, yeah, I think that Martinez is going to need a knockout here. So I like that fight doesn't go to decision at plus 225. I played that for a full unit, and I've got a 2-unit bet on the Rob Font money line at minus 110 here. This is going to be a fun fight, and I think Font's going to be walking Martinez down. I think he's going to be crashing that pocket, and because of that, violence on either side, whether it be a Font KO or a Martinez KO or even a Font submission after having a heavy grappling camp training at TriStar, and now he's fighting a guy with no grappling game, we could potentially see Font take this dude down and work him on the mat. He's got really good ground and pound too, so Font money line, fight doesn't go to decision. My favorite plays for this fight, which brings us to the heart and soul of this card. It's Diego Lopes versus Gene Silva. We got Diego Lopes, the plus 196 underdog. Gene Silva looking fresh with a new mustache this week, ladies and gentlemen. Minus 231 favorite. Fight doesn't go to decision here, sitting around minus 260 for this fight. So I'm picking Gene Silva. I think we're going to get a bounce back from the Fighting Nerds. Like, people are talking about the Fighting Nerds like they're dead. Like, Carlos Prates didn't just kill a man in Chicago on August 16th. You know, I mean, do you guys forget that? That man, that poor man, is probably still hasn't woken up. So Prates is still a stud. Caio Bahaio lost to Nasruddin Imavov. Mauricio Hufi lost to a stud in Benoit Saint Denis. So I think that Gene Silva is the much better striker. Lopes is dangerous. He's tall. He's long. When he throws and plants his feet, he's looking to take your head off. But everything's wide and everything's kind of like loading up, while Gene Silva is just so precise, quick to the target as the crow flies. Great power and just beautiful counter striking exchanges. If Lopes stands in front of him and starts swinging wild hooks, he's gonna catch a straight right down the pipe that I think knocks him out. So I could see Silva finding a knockout in any of the rounds here. I think it's just a matter of time before Lopes gets a little bit sloppy on the feet. The problem with Lopes is that he has a 52% distance striking defense. And while I think his durability is being overstated a little bit, because he went 3 rounds with Dan Ige and was never dropped, because he went 3 rounds with Brian Ortega, Ortega was on death's door for that fight. And Dan Ige took that fight on 4 days notice up at 165 pounds. So I think that if Gene Silva lands big on Lopes, that Lopes is going to get knocked out like he had been knocked out 2 times before he got to the UFC. So I don't think he wants to be on the feet with Silva, and unfortunately Lopes can't defensively wrestle here. So I think it's going to come down to who the better technical striker is, who the faster striker is, who the more defensively sound striker is. And the answer to all 3 of those questions, in my opinion, Lord Gene Silva. So I think that Fighting Nerds get back on track. I'm picking a 4th round KO. I don't really like the overs here, though. I think I'd rather play the unders. I see a lot of people are on the overs this week. Gene Silva is very durable, and Lopes is proven to be durable at the UFC level so far, but that's going to be tested by Silva. So I think it's going to be a Silva KO. Can't wait for this fight. And those are all the picks, you guys. So now that we've done the full card breakdown, I'm going to give you my dog pick of the week. I'm going to give you Uncle Weezy's ass shaving of the week, and the Bootsy Collins Memorial Dogs Are Barking pick of the week, which has been on a little bit of a tear lately. We've been hitting these at a pretty good clip over the last few weeks. Last week was Benoit Saint Denis. this week, well, it could really only be one guy. It's the Rodrigo Sezinando money line, because the bottom line is that I'm picking a bunch of favorites. And a lot of these fights in the middle of the card are fights that I don't even think should be touched from a gambling perspective at all. So if Daniil Donchenko is able to keep this fight standing, I think he's going to do the much better work, and I think he's going to make it look easy. But Rodrigo Cezinando is somebody who commits to the grappling. Now that he's training with Daniel Cormier, I think he's going to get exactly the kind of high-level wrestling coaching that he needs in order to make him even better at what he already does well, and that's the grappling. So former Nova União guy, some 5-round experience in BFL as their welterweight champion. And I think that he's going to get takedowns here. I think he's going to force Donchenko to fight in a phone booth and to grapple. And I think if he does that, he's eventually going to find the submission here on the ground. So Cezinando submission round 2, and your Bootsy Collins Memorial Dogs or Bark and Pick of the week is going to be the Rodrigo Cezinando money line at plus 190, which brings us to the last order of business. And we need to get back on track this week. So I got to pick a good fighter. I got to pick somebody that I can count on to go out there and not just win, but win violently, win with pizzazz, win with flash. And when we're looking to do that, I don't know why we wouldn't go with the Fighting Nerds product here in Gene Silva by KO. I kind of feel like he's being punished now because his teammates lost. You know, they're like, oh, the camp lost all their aura now. So now, like, there's a bunch of money coming in on Lopes, and everyone thinks that Lopes is going to, look better than his money line indicates that he will. But, that last performance by Diego coming off of that, not just losing to the champion, but losing like that, knowing that your best chance was to win moments and you go out there and you don't do shit for 4 rounds. I mean, I wouldn't be able to sleep at night if I performed that in the biggest fight of my life and fought like a complete fucking dumbass. And I could just see him overly engaging here with Silva, walking on to something big. So I think Silva's career trajectory is a lot better because, Lopes kind of just got exposed as somebody who doesn't really know who he is in his last fight. He went out there against a much smaller guy and tried to win a range kickboxing match with him instead of crashing the pocket, taking advantage of his power, taking advantage of his length, and taking advantage of the fact that Volkanovski had been knocked out in his last 2 losses. So, of course, you want to test this guy's ability to take big shots because he doesn't have real power compared to a lot of the other people in the division. So, I just think that career trajectory here is correct for Silva, and I rate him as the much better striker. And even though Lopes is a very dangerous submission grappler, he can't wrestle. So he kind of relies on knockdown, or he relies on his opponents initiating the grappling exchanges in order to be able to find some submission attempts. So, yeah, I don't think Lopes is going to win this fight. I think Gene Silva is going to win violently, and cash the ass shaving of the week, which is not the Gene Silva money line, but it is Gene Silva to win by knockout, sitting at minus 105 on Bet Online Sportsbook. And then let's do a Greasy 4-leg parlay here. Let me just make sure I don't have it up on the screen already, and I did. So I have to X all that out so you guys don't know what it is, so I could show you one leg at a time here. All right, there we go. Greasy 4-legger. We only got 2 out of the 4 legs last week. The week before that, we hit 3 out of 4 legs, and the 4th leg should have hit. It was the Zhao Long money line. So we kind of got robbed out of a 4-legger two events ago. So let's see if we get made up for it this week, and maybe we can have a bounce go our way and we hit it. But leg 1 is going to be something I like a lot this week. The quick turnaround for Hernandez, fighting only 28 days after UFC Chicago, taking a big step up in competition against a finisher in Ferreira, and a guy in Hernandez who's fighting a 40-year-old fighter, and he's got a bunch of power in his hands early in the fight. I could see an early Hernandez finish. I could see a late Ferreira finish. And at minus 110, I think there are some narrative issues that play into this, but also I do think that Diego Ferreira is going to get a late finish in this fight. So I like that fight doesn't go to decision at minus 110 here for this fight. And that's going to put some meat on the bone of this parlay because it's close to even here. So that's going to get us a better price when we get all 4 legs in. Leg number 2 is going to be the Jared Gordon money line. So, like I said before, Jared Gordon is starting to show power, but even if the power isn't shown in this fight, he was already a guy who was winning minutes at a very high clip in this organization. So I think Jared Gordon's money line at minus 245, we add that to the minus 110. Fight doesn't go to decision. For the Ferreira Hernandez fight, we get plus 168 for this 2-leg parlay. Leg number 3, I'm going with the guy who's taking 9 steps down the ladder of the bantamweight division to take a fight against a one-dimensional karate guy, point fighter, and David Martinez. I think Font has got a lot of ways to win this fight. I think he can win the striking exchanges with power and 3 and 4 punch combinations by putting Martinez on the back foot. And if he successfully puts Martinez on the back foot and is able to cut off the cage properly, which is going to be difficult against somebody like Martinez with his phenomenal footwork and lateral movement, I think that if he's able to do that, he's able to potentially set up some takedown entries that could potentially get him some grappling success in this fight too. So I think Rob Font to win at minus 115, another price tag that's going to put some good meat on the bone of this parlay here. That brings us up to plus 402 for a 3-leg parlay here. And leg number 4 is going to be Uncle Weezy's ass shaving of the week. To do that, and Gene Silva, the minus 238 money line, where we don't have to make it the KO just because we're already at a nice price because we got the Font money line at minus 115 and the fight doesn't go to decision for Hernandez at minus 110. So this 4-leg parlay comes out to plus 613 on DraftKings Sportsbook. We did it, you guys. Full card breakdown. We did dog pick of the week. We did the ass shaving of the week, and we got a Greasy 4-leg parlay out here. So let's talk to you guys in the chat, see how you guys are doing. What are you thinking for this card? Can't wait to talk to you. And if you want to support my work, if you want to get access to all these stats that you see up here, if you want access to the individual fighter stats that have DraftKings, FanDuel, Prize Picks, and Underdog, all the individual fight data, the matchup stats for each fighter compared to the divisional averages to determine, it's a great way to help statistics be your guide and find some great spots in these lines. The over-under betting models help you determine value on over-under bets. The prop betting models help you find value on prop bets like KO props, decision props, submission props, split decision, unanimous decision. Everything here is explained in the Discord. You could go to the Discord here and go to instructional videos and find how to use these betting models when you get access to the Discord through the Odd Shopper probability stats and content package. Get access to all my tracked bets. Get access to my fight write-ups. Get access to the 4+ hours of content that I do every week, including Balls Deep Breakdowns with Uncle Weezy, which is a 2-hour show where we do a full card breakdown over here. You see this on the screen. We also do Probability, which is the 1.5 to 2 hour plus EV prop betting show that I do every week, where we go every fight. We go through the betting models. We take the stylistic reads and we find the best plus EV bets of the week. So if you want to join up, $25 a month. The link is in the description of the video. Come join us. Support my work if you like it. It's the best way to make sure that I keep showing up here for YouTube for free for you guys. And yeah, let's talk some fights. Let's see what you guys are saying here in the chat. We've got the Milkman, the first one in the room here, saying, let's go on. Thank you for all that you do every week for us. Appreciate you, Milkman. Good to see you hanging out in here. We got Gabriella in the room saying, let's go. What's up, Gabriella? We got Exclusive Oro, one of my Odd Shopper members here saying, oi, who are we loving this week? And who is the fighter with too many unanswered questions? This week, I like the Gordon money line. I like the Silva money line. I like the Font money line. And then fighters with too many unanswered questions right now. I think Gurule's got some unanswered questions. I think we have to worry about Costa with a 15-month layoff coming into this fight. Alice Pereira has fought a very low level of competition on the regional scene. So seeing how she's going to handle a step up in competition against Monsi Rendon is something that we don't really know how it's going to happen. You know, is Cedricas Dumas going to be a better UFC fighter, or is he going to have more success with a mumble rap classic called Court Dates and Dog Crates? You know, we don't know, but that is another one that's a little bit of an unanswered question as to how he's going to come in and produce here. Forrest Daniels is saying, my Uncle Weezy bringing knowledge and wisdom weekly to UFC betting for the people. Appreciate you, Forrest. Thanks for hanging out. And he is saying, what is your most underrated fight on this Noche UFC card and why? Underrated fight. I think the first fight of the night between Sezinando and Donchenko is going to be an absolute banger. I think Alden Coria is going to keep the Costa fight a lot closer than people think, and I think that's going to be a great fight. Santiago Luna versus Quang Lee could be one of the most underrated fights on the card because of the style that Santiago Luna fights with. So I think that's going to be a great fight. But I would have to say my favorite fight on the card besides the main event would be Carlos Diego Ferreira at -120 going up against Alexander Hernandez. Hernandez on a 3-fight win streak, looking like he's really rounding into form. And he's fighting a 40-year-old guy who's still fighting at a very high level, well-rounded skill set. I think that people are sleeping just a little bit on Ferreira. The money has been coming in on him, but he shouldn't have been an underdog in the first place. And we got Josh saying that he was waiting for that theme song. We bumped that at the beginning of the show. We got Farang Love saying, coming out of the basement for this one. There's no basement. Well, no, actually, I do have a basement here, but it's not like ours, so I couldn't just go down there and hang out, you know? So, yeah, I just kind of came out of the living room for this one. We got Casbar in the room saying, Weezy, baby. What's up, Casbar? We got Mike Metal in the room saying, Weezy. What is up, Mike? We got Onk from Dr. Peener Jr. is in the room. What's up, Dr. Peener Jr.? Mike Metal saying, thanks for loaning me that $10,000, man. Yeah, dude, somebody just took the money out of my account. So I didn't agree to loan you that money, and I want it back. Like soon, Mike, please. Farang saying, who you got tied up in the basement? What? I don't even own the basement here. We got Colby saying, oi, yes, what is up, Colby? We got R saying Reese. Okay, Reese, the Reese money line, the Suarez money line, Gordon money line, Gene Silva, Gurule, and you got Canelo in there. I don't know anything about boxing, so I don't know who's going to win the Crawford-Canelo fight, but I think all 5 of those MMA names are going to win, so I do like it. We got the Cuban Assassin saying, what it do, Weezy? Watching you, and I got the Blues Brothers on the TV. Blues Brothers, Sweet Home Chicago is the cut. I love that movie. It is such a classic. And so I grew up in Park Ridge, Illinois, which is right in the northwest suburbs of Chicago. It's right next to like O'Hare Airport. And where the Blues Brothers was filmed, like a lot of it was actually filmed in Park Ridge. And one of the houses that I lived in actually had the scene where Jake and Elwood get pulled over by the police. That took place right in front of a house that I used to live in Park Ridge on Cumberland Avenue. So yeah, it's that movie is such a great movie. There's such great music in that movie. It's hilarious. It was one of the biggest budgeted movies in the history of time at that point. Probably the most expensive movie to make. It was crazy. We got Dr. Peener Jr.'s dad, Dr. Peener here, the ICU urologist in the room saying, oh shit, Weezy's got the chain out. Shine bright like a diamond. Let's go, Dr. Peener. We got Shady in the room saying, I'll catch it on the replay tomorrow. Just wanted to say, what's up, Weezy? Good to see you hanging out, Shady. I hope all is well. I hope that you're cashing some bets, my man. And the God of War is not a Brazilian cab driver, and I could not agree more with that statement, my man. Brandon saying, on the work trip, go back to the hotel, check YouTube before bed, literally 5 seconds before Weezy goes live. Fucking serendipitous. Welcome to the show, Brandon. I hope you're having a great time, my man. We got my man Finesse the Books. Appreciate you, man, saying what's good, Unc. Appreciate the hard work. hit the like button, fam. If I remember correctly, didn't you just have a baby? Didn't you and your girl just have a baby? Finesse the books. If that's the case, congratulations, brother. I hope all is well, and I hope the baby's healthy and you're all happy, my man. Benino in the room saying, great bet on BSD. Thought he was going to get smoked. A lot of people thought he was going to get smoked. There were some unanswered questions on the Hoofy side as to how he would deal with the pressure and the wrestling of BSD. We found out he didn't deal with it well. But, when you make those bets before a fight, it's up to the fighters to carry out your vision of how you think they're going to win. And BSD fought smart in that fight. So could I find footage of Lena's only good win? Are you talking about you're talking about Pereira's? Yes, I did find that. Let me see here. So I mean, even if you were to just go to YouTube, I think it would be there. If you were to type in Aileen Pereira versus Samara Santos. Yeah, and there it is. 25 minutes, fought on a phone or filmed on a phone. There it is. And it came out 8 months ago. It's got 1,900 views. So it is there on, and I mean, like, it's not a great win. I'll tell you that. It's not a great win for Alice, but it's a win. And it's 25 minutes of footage. And you can kind of see what's going on, but like you could see, like, it's filmed on a phone. They're in a balcony and you're not really zoomed in. So it's kind of hard to really get an idea of how Alice is going to look at this level. Brandon saying, love that matchup for Gordon, but Garcia is durable and judges hate Coria. They sure have lately, man. The odds are scaring me away. Yeah, I think that's a possibility, is that, if Garcia is able to keep it close on the feet, that there could be a robbery there, because they love robbing Jared Gordon, man. And I like that too, that Coria plus 3.5 points, handicap at plus 150. Personally, though, like, I think that's a good look too. I like that money line too, though, for him. We got Truth Hurts is in the room. What is up, man? Yita's saying bonus bet Canelo or Bud and How. You're on the wrong channel, man. I have no idea. I would ask Narco Cop. He's a boxing guy. Who are some of the? There's a lot of good ones, dude. There's a lot of guys that actually pay attention to boxing as well. I'm just not one of them. And R is saying that Bud cannot hurt Canelo at this weight. Canelo wears him down and wins a decision, according to R. Yita's saying Bud wins every round. We got Count Christian in the room saying, I thought Gene Silva would be the only fighting nerd to lose this month, but he might end up being the only one to win. Yeah, well, I mean, we did get a win less than a month ago from protests in Chicago. Big Boy saying Tatiana might be washed, and she might be. That might be true. Your body can only take so many injuries and chemotherapy before you're unable to perform like an elite athlete anymore. So we're going to find out. Otterbaum saying the man with the plan. What is up, Otterbaum? Good to see you hanging out in here. Brandon saying Puelles by knee bar minus 210. Lack of the card. His money line isn't even that wide. We got Daz in there saying I'd be amazed if Tatiana didn't put her on the mat and sub her in round 1 and make it look very easy. I think she's going to put her on the mat. I don't think she's going to sub her, though. I think that the fight will go to decision, but I wouldn't be that surprised if Tatiana subs her, because she has finished 5 of her 7 UFC wins, if I'm not mistaken. Dude, that could happen. It could happen if Dusko gets tired, and Medina's just got crazy durability, So if he can hang around long enough and his opponents get tired, that's probably how he would win at this level. I think that's his path, because he probably wouldn't win enough minutes in rounds 1 or 2 to get his hand raised by a decision against anybody at this. And we got Stacking Cream saying the Special Olympics give all the medals. Dr. Pino Jr. saying people forget, man, Johnny Walker is the king of China. He is, man, dude. Johnny Walker went all the way over there, fought Minyang Zhang in front of a very hostile crowd, and got the job done with leg kicks in the second round. So the new king of China is our guy, Johnny Walker. Big ups to Johnny Walker. My guy Enlightened My Opinion in the room saying, oi, from Illinois. Weezy, have you seen Claudio Playlist on Instagram. He is a good, he's got a good doctor. No, I have not seen Claudio Playlist on Instagram. I'll have to check him out, but yeah, man, I'll bet you there's a lot of people that got good doctors. We got one of them right in here. We got Dr. Pienaar in here. That is the foremost ICU urologist surgeon that there is in the country right now. So good to see some doctors in here. We got Daz saying, weird move for Hernandez, really. You know what? You know why, Daz? It's not really that weird. San Antonio is where he's originally from. So this card kind of got, if you look at like Tapology and you just go to the card, for instance, right? Look at all of these. Oh, shit, that's not what I'm looking for. Look at all of these canceled fights down here. So Suarez Costa got canceled. Pennington Dumont got canceled. David Martinez was originally supposed to fight a grappler in Carlos Vera. Then he got matched up with Quang Bang Lee, and now he's matched up with Rob Font. Quang Lee was supposed to fight David Martinez. Then they both got rebooked. And then Font was supposed to fight Rosa. So there were all these injuries happen, all these fights falling out. And Hernandez, who didn't take any damage in the Hooper fight, was probably like, hey, give me a fucking fight. I'll fight in my hometown of San Antonio. He trains in Colorado, but he's originally from Texas. And when you watch Hernandez's old fights, they'll say, you know, training out of Colorado by way of San Antonio, Texas. So not that move, not that weird, because they wanted to get Hernandez on the card on a 3-fight win streak in his hometown. Dudes, MMA in the room, reposted this stream. Love that picture, man. The dude is the man. We got Wick's son in the room saying, UncleWeezy, what is up, Wick? Hope all is well. J-Mo in the room. What's up, J-Mo? Good to see you hanging out in here. The Beat Fanatic saying, could there be a Missing Weight episode 2 coming soon? There might be. We're going to find out. Like I said, he looks a little bit voluptuous here, so we'll see if he winds up making weight tomorrow. And J-Mo is saying that he's late, but he made it. Always appreciated. Thank you for hanging out, man. We got Brandon saying Pico versus Murphy vibes as far as strength of schedule in the Martinez Font fight. I would say it's even wider, because at least Pico was fighting top-level regional scene competition. Guys like, you know, some of those losses that he has are against good names. Jeremy Kennedy. There's some good names there. But look at Martinez's strength of schedule. It's very, very bad. There's been some long layoffs in there due to injury. He hasn't been the most active fighter. So I think it's even bigger difference here. Brandon saying Lopes is overrated, in my opinion. I tend to agree. He's gotten some big wins, but I'm going with Silva here. Question, I need your wisdom on why you picked Sezinando to beat Donchenko when Donchenko was a minus 225 favorite on this one. Thanks, Uncle Weezy. Yeah, so what I look at when I look at a striker versus grappler matchup is I think it's very important to note how much time both fighters spend at distance striking range and how much they spend in control time positions. So a guy like Donchenko, we didn't see him grapple at all in the house. And when we did see him grapple in Nizer FC on his regional scene footage, it was against guys that we don't know what their grappling pedigrees were, but most of them had 6-4 records. They weren't high-level guys. Now, Sezinando is somebody that when I watch his fights, when I watch his tape, he's spending very little time in control time positions. So I think that the way that he fights is likely to take this fight to where he's going to be the one looking like the favorite. That's the grappling exchanges. And if he's able to do that, I think he's got better than a 50% chance to win this fight if he's able to force grappling exchanges and get to dominant positions in at least 2 of these 3 rounds against Donchenko. And he also hits hard on the feet. And a lot of times when you're facing a grappler, you might back the striker, but the striker might be a little bit unwilling to let their strikes go for fear of the takedown attempts that are coming their way. A great example of this would have been Mauricio Hufi versus Benoit Saint-Denis last week. How much offensive volume do we see Kofi throwing at range when he found out, oh my God, this guy's going to be pressuring and trying to take me down. So that's why I went with Sezinando, because if I think that the grappler has a chance to spend more time in grappling positions than in striking positions, and he's a big underdog, it's a good bet to make. That's why I went with it. Josh is saying, a lot of people don't realize Sezinando is the true welterweight here. Donchenko is a lightweight moving up. If this gets into grappling, Sezinando is likely to be too big or too strong for Donchenko. And that's a thing, Josh. In the Ultimate Fighter house, you get a lot of people that are fighting one weight class above their natural weight class, because if you win the Ultimate Fighter, you are going to have to make 2 weight cuts in usually less than a 3-week period. Right? If you're one of these big welterweights that's walking around at 200, making that cut down to 170 2 times over 3 weeks in the Ultimate Fighter house is probably going to kill you. If you watch, for instance, Myron Santos, who won a regional or who won one of the recent seasons, his second weight cut in the house, he had to kill himself to make weight. So Donchenko is a guy that we've seen fight at welterweight. I thought he was the welterweight champion in Nizer. No, it is lightweight. Yes, it was lightweight. So yeah, he is moving up a weight class here and fighting up a weight class. And that's another reason to like the Sezinando side, is he was fighting at 165 and even some fights at 175 in BFL, I believe. All right. And we got my guy D is in the room. What is up, D? Good to see you hanging out, brother. I hope all is well. We got Voice of Reason saying, what up, Uncle Weezy? Is an implied probability of 38% on a Hasidic Jew versus an Orthodox by KO worth it? 38%. So 3-ace. Hasidic Jew versus an Orthodox by KO worth it. I don't know what fight you're talking about. That is fucking one of the weirdest questions I've ever fucking seen in here, Voice of Reason. And I have no idea how to answer it. Is Medina to win via split decision at plus 1,600 a donation? Well, it's plus 1,600. You go in with low expectations when you make those bets, right? But I could see the fight going to decision. And yeah, I mean, maybe it's not. I don't think it's a horrible bet by any stretch of the imagination. If somebody was like, would you make that bet? I probably wouldn't make it just because I'm not going to bet on the fight, but I hear that and I don't think it's terrible, man. Hernandez Ferreira ends by KO at plus 160 instead of inside the distance at minus 110. We could see Ferreira get a submission. That's what I worry about, is because the guy's got a very high level ground game, but the difference between a minus 110 and a plus 160 is like in the neighborhood of 13 or 14% of implied probability. It's significant. So I would personally rather just play the inside the distance, though. Fight doesn't go at minus 110. But if you're feeling like you want to, take a little bit of extra risk, hell yeah, go for it. Because I'm picking KO, and I think that almost 100% of Hernandez's finish condition would be a KO here. So I don't mind it. Beat Fanatic saying, I was thinking about betting on Reese against Dumas, but then I rewatched his tape, and man, is he slow on the feet. He has cardio issues, and he was taken down multiple times by Dusko and by Jose Medina. Yeah, his takedown defense is traditionally pretty bad, but I bet on Dusko against Reese, and I was surprised because he wasn't able to get takedowns in the second half of the fight against Reese, which was like, holy shit, dude, if you can't take this guy down, I just think that Dusko is completely done. Got a 3-leg violence parlay. Any odds? I don't like a lot of violence here, but if I were to do a 3-leg violence parlay, it would be something to the effect of fight doesn't go to decision for Hernandez versus Diego Ferreira. I would do Gene Silva by KO. Gene Silva by KO at minus 110. That's a 2-legger. And then, because I'm picking a lot of decisions here. man, I would just do this 2-leg parlay. Fight doesn't go for Hernandez versus Ferreira. Gene Silva to win by knockout. Both of those come out to plus 264. Otherwise, there's really not much in terms of violence bets that I like, because if you look at my picks, I'm picking so many decisions. So, I mean, I'm picking a Reese KO, so maybe Reese by KO. If we were, if Reese inside the distance, let's do that. Fight props, I don't know, winning method to win by finish. Zach Reese, yes, minus 175. So that 3-legger comes out to plus 472. Hernandez, Diego, fight doesn't go. Gene Silva to win by KO. Zach Reese to win inside the distance. That'll be it. Beat Fanatic saying that Dumas likes to wrestle, and I could easily see him avoiding the stand-up, taking Reese down and laying on him for 15 minutes. But that could open up a sub opportunity for Reese. Sketchy fight, man. Yeah, for sure. Lena. Who's Lena? Luna. Yes, I was able to find Santiago Luna's fight. Shout out to my guy MMA Junior. So in my Discord, I asked, I'll show you, Josh. I'll share my screen here. So Luna, there's this lightsoutsportstv.com. There, if you were to go there and click that video, Lights Out Extreme Fighting 19, and it's going to bring it up, the entire event, and then you can fast forward actually to the 38-minute and 35-second mark. So it was Lights Out Extreme Fighting number 19. They have their own website, so you can go and watch the fight on there. So I did watch that Luna fight against the only legitimate opponent, who was the Russian guy. He got a 3rd-round finish after the Russian guy completely gassed out. Great fight, but it led me to believe that Luna might be able to win at this level, Josh. So yeah, lightsoutsportstv.com. Go to Lights Out Extreme Fighting number 19, and you go to the 38-minute and 35-second mark, and you will find that video. I think Finesse did. I think I've seen that he was going. I think I saw on Twitter that my man was heading to the hospital to deliver a baby. So I hope I'm right about that, because if I'm wrong about it, he's like, "What the fuck is Weezy talking about? I didn't have a baby." Luna's only good win. Yes, that's right. That's the one. Because all the rest of them, Josh, were against the UWC guys, and then a 4-6 guy in Tough Enough, I believe. So. Yeah, plus the Hood Wolf only has $13 to his name. He needs a win badly. Yes, he does, man. Otherwise, it's going to be court dates and dog crates for him again. So, goddamn autocorrect. I couldn't find footage of Santiago Luna's only good win against the only good guy he's fought with a pulse, and now you can find him. Resum saying, never been on a live, Dr. Uncle Weezy. What up, my guy? Good to see you hanging out in here. Thanks for joining us, my man. We got Mateus Gonzalez in the room saying, "Oi, sending blessings and good luck from Mexico. Thanks for the info, Uncle Weezy. Good to see you in here, Mateus. I hope that you enjoy watching these fights on Saturday." We got Remdog in the room saying a love letter to Mexico. Here's Dusko Todorovic versus the Bolivian Jose Medina. It's hilarious, right? My guy Remdog saying good luck this week. Good luck to you, my man. It's good to see you hanging out in here. We got Sean King in the room saying, you said very little time in control time positions. I probably was a mistake, but like on my stats packages here, Sean, one of the things that I have labeled is, if I take this off the screen, you could see how much time each guy spends in control time position. So 85% here at distance striking range for David Martinez, 66% here for Rob Font. So, and I've got that for every fight. So I'm not sure which fight you were talking about there, but yeah, I could have made a mistake. I mean, I make them all the time. Resum saying I got David Martinez money line at nice odds. They've moved quite a bit. I know that there were guys getting in at plus 150, plus 160. Sean King saying I need my grapplers having a lot of time in control time positions, especially versus a power puncher like Donchenko. I couldn't agree more, Sean. Absolutely. Should I cash out? I don't like, like if you bet on Martinez at plus 150 and now he's minus 110, I don't usually encourage people to cash out when they get that much CLV. It's just in my personal experience, I don't cash a lot of bets where I get CLV. It's the ones where I get reverse CLV that I cash. So I don't know, man. Maybe you should, but I'm not going to tell you to. Sean saying, and do you feel the same with Luna versus Lee? Luna moving down a weight class on short notice. Was Luna fighting at featherweight? I thought he was fighting at bantamweight. Let me look. So the Manabat fight was at featherweight. Yeah, these are all featherweight fights. Bantamweight prior to that. So the Baiduev fight and the Manabat fight were at featherweight. And these fights, bantamweight. So he's definitely bounced back between these rounds. And when he was an amateur, he was fighting at bantamweight as well. So, it could be that he just took these fights up a weight class because he was unable to find opponents in legitimate organizations that were willing to fight him. But yeah, the Baiduev fight was the one you want to watch because that's really the opponent. That's the highest level opponent that he's seen so far. Dr. Peener saying, thoughts on the Bears blowing the game versus the Vikings? I thought it sucked, man. I was watching it. They got a couple of calls that went against them that were just absolutely horrible. There was an offensive holding call that put them in 2nd and 20 instead of 1st and goal. There was a pass interference call that wound up keeping a drive alive in the second half from Minnesota. So I think Minnesota got as much help as they needed from the refs to get past that Bears defense that was just absolutely shutting them down. But yeah, the offense is looking like a lot like it did last year. And by that, I mean pathetic. So hopefully the Bears can start to pick it up here. They got a really good coach there now. Hopefully they get that offense clicking. Medina might get subbed. Dusko hasn't been wrestling a lot nowadays. Yeah. Or has been. Sean saying Silva inside the distance. Dumas Reese doesn't go. Puelles Silva doesn't go. Yeah, that's a good 3-legger, man. I just said that the Reese inside the distance, the Silva inside the distance, and then instead of Puelles, Silva doesn't go. I got the Hernandez, Ferreira doesn't go. That's the safe version of a violence parlay. Josh saying, thank you, Weezy. Much love. Yeah, you got it, dude. I hope you get to watch that fight. It's going to be enlightening for you, man. It's a great fight, by the way. Big Boy saying, who would you say that are the locks to put in the DFS lineup? Thank you for all you do. As underdogs this week, I like Sezinando with high grappling upside, and I like Ferreira with a lot of volume. Mid-range, I don't really like Font this week, but there might be some grappling upside for him. Puelles. This is close to a pick'em fight, and I think that he's going to be looking for takedowns, so I think he's a decent play this week. I like, obviously, Tatiana Suarez because, you're looking at some finish upside there, and even if she doesn't finish, you're looking at multiple takedowns and probably at least 10 minutes of control time. So Suarez is a good high-priced option this week, and I think Santiago Luna is a really good option this week simply because I think his path is grappling. So that's how I would. And then Gordon, I think, is a safe play. Gastelum, I think, is a safe play to just try to get a win. And I'd put Gene Silva in my lineup because I think he's going to get a knockout. We got Fernie in the room saying, how you doing, Uncle Weezy? Thanks again for your time. Have a nice weekend. Good health. All the same to you, my man. And what's my favorite underdog? It is the Bootsy Collins Memorial Dogs Are Barking Pick of the Week. And that is the Rodrigo Sezinando money line at plus 190. Thank you guys for hanging out. Appreciate each and every one of you. Wow. Molly McCann is a minus 3,000 on the Matchroom back boxing event this weekend. Holy shit. Good to see Molly McCann still throwing down with some combat sports. But yeah, you guys, appreciate each and every one of you for hanging out here. Hit that thumbs up on your way out. Hit that subscribe if you haven't already. Check out the Cedriques Dumas autobiography entitled Court Dates and Dog Crakes. It's going to be a mumble rap classic in order to be, and also be one of the great books in the MMA space coming up. Keep an eye out for that. And if you, once again, if you want to support my work, the link to my Odds Shopper probability stats and content package is in the description of this video. Click on that. You're going to get access to an amazing amount of content, stats, fight write-ups, spreadsheets, all this stuff that I give to my people every week that'll help them make better long-term decisions with their UFC bets. So if you want to support me, click on that link. If you don't want to do that, hit the thumbs up and hit the subscribe and leave me a comment down below. You guys, let's stack cash tickets like flapjacks for Noche UFC. Enjoy watching the fights on Saturday, and God bless each and every one of you guys. Have a great rest of your night. Take care.